This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So in our previous class, we're understanding what is the importance of framework and what is the importance of implementation applications. So during design prospective, your business analyst, they will be giving you business analyst documents. So based on the documents, you have to understand where you have to create. If it looks reusable, you have to create it in the framework. And if it is not looking reusable, where you have to create implementations. So our organization can have n number of frameworks also, but implementations count will be more general. So consider today as the first day of our project starting. So what my business analyst has to do, or before that, what my client will be doing, he will be purchasing license from the PEGA systems team, and he will be maintaining this get installed in their network. Maybe in US or somewhere, they'll be getting this installed. Once this is installed, this URL will be generated. Meaning on the day one, you are supposed to ask for this URL. As a developer, you will be joining some company. You will be asking what is the development URL. So what you will just do with this URL? You have to log in, right? So you have to ask them create, what is the technical word? Operator ID. So you are supposed to get one operator ID to be created. So operator ID will be generally your client ID. So once you join company, you'll get two IDs generally. Day one, you'll get ID from your company, maybe Cognizant. And after few days, you will be assigned with some project, maybe US Bank of America or City, whatever. So they will be giving you one ID that is called client ID. So based on that client ID, your colleague or your manager will be creating operator ID for you. So you joined the company today, your operator ID is created, you will log in here and you will drag and drop and you will design. And maybe next day, some other person joining company, you should be in a position to create operator ID for them. So creating operator ID is very, very small thing. Every one of you should understand that. But on the day one itself, meaning project starting date, on the day, business analyst, they have to log in here. Correct, right? So business analyst, they have to log in and they will be designing 4 frameworks or 20 implementations. Day one, they will be coming with one organization structure or application structure. Based on that, they will decide why can't we go for 4 frameworks or 15 implementations accordingly. So once the design is confirmed, they have to create the applications, right? So creating applications is what BS will be doing. Once BS are creating all these applications, next it will be handed to development manager. Their developer has to link all these things. Linking they cannot do. They meaning BS. BS they cannot do. So they will be taking help from the developer and they will create it. Meaning on the day one, BA has to create some applications. No? Still it is asking some username and password. So day one today, no one has got operator ID, but still it is asking. So PEGA team, they will be giving with one master operator ID. What is that? Very master. So administrator@pega.com, password as install. Okay, so this will be the master operator ID. Now, if I just click on login button, what it has to do? So it has to just cross check whether this is correct or not and its related password is correct or not. Where it will be comparing 100% database type. 100% database type. So now if I click on login button, it has to check with one database table. Database table understands what? Only SQL queries. Database will not understand PEGA or Java or .NET, anything. Database understands only SQL queries. Now, if I click on login button, it has to execute one SQL query, no, automatically, and it will be checking whether this is correct operator ID or not, and this is its related password or not, and then it will be taking us to next screens. Correct, no? It has to take me to next screens. So in interviews, they'll ask you, what is the table name? If I click on login button, it is checking some table, right? From there only it is comparing the data. So what is the table name? So that table name we have to understand. So if I log in, I'll create 20 applications as a BA. After that, I'll be handovering all these 20 to respective development manager. So I have to create, as a BA, I have to create one operator ID for him, and then he will be taking care of all the things, and he will create operator ID for their team. Correct, right? He will create operator ID for their team. Maybe total 30 members are there, meaning 30 operator IDs, no? 30 developers, and additional, this is one existing operator ID. So 30 new developers and this one. Total in my table, how many records should be there? How many operator details should be there? 31. Correct, right? 30 plus this one also, 31. Suppose if I am coming out of that project, so my record has to be removed, right? Meaning my operator ID should not be working. So that should be removed from the same table. What is the table name? So how to insert a new record into the table? How to delete that record into the table without writing any SQL query manually? 100% with SQL queries only, but we should not write anything manual. So we have to understand what is the table name, how to insert new operator ID, how to delete or how to update the password, all these things. What is that main table name that they'll ask you? So slowly we'll understand. If I say it today, you'll not understand. Slowly we'll understand. So prospect to here is, if I click on login, it will be executing one SQL query, interacting with the table. It will be confirming this is correct password, and next we are getting a screen. So this is our actual PEGA tool. Correct, right? So this is our actual PEGA tool, where I can see this as the header showing up with some configurations and other stuff. And the bottom part is to be called as a footer, where we can see our debugging tools. So where we can see our debugging tools, right? So we can see at the bottom something like debugging tools, what I already told you. And this is the explorer, where we try to explore and create all the things. I'll talk about this. And this is just a banner where it will be using for our promotional purpose, nothing more than that. And here we are seeing some guardrails also. So we are seeing some extra guardrails. So this is what we are understanding. So now I logged into this PEGA as an administrator with administrator password only, no? On the day one, my BA will be logging here with this username and password. What is their duty? They have to create applications, maybe 15 applications. So my requirement here is to, or the purpose of I logged in here is to create applications. And by default, I'm seeing something called application with the name. What are we seeing? PEGA platform. So my requirement is to log in and create the new one. By this time, I'm seeing one application name with the name PEGA platform, meaning this is already created, right? This is already created. I did not create. So this is already created. And remember, in entire PEGA, if there is anything which is already created, that is to be called as OOTB, meaning out of the box. Okay, so in this entire PEGA tool, if you see anything which is already created, so this is already created. I did not create this. Already created. What is this to be called? OOTB. Suppose if I wanted to send one email to the customer, consider I'm creating one credit card application. So if I go for a bank and ask for a credit card, they will be running some application and immediately I'll be getting one email, right? Meaning this application should be connected with some email triggering. Just understand or imagine. So this for email functionality, what we generally use, I already told you. So we'll be using something like send email notification. The first class I told you. So where actual Java coding will be there. So if I wanted to send one email to the customer, generally with other technologies, it will take 2 days or at least 1 week also. But here, as I told you, the necessary Java code is automatic. It is already there. We did not write a single line of Java coding here. So it is already included here. So to send one email, I can simply call this on my button click. If I click on a button, email has to be triggered. I'll just call this Java coding. You don't understand what is this Java coding also. Not at all a matter. Just ignore it. We have to understand how to use it. So did I create this Java code? Did we create? We did not do anything. What is this called? This is already created, right? Anything already created is to be called OOTB, meaning this is OOTB. So in entire PEGA, if you see anything which is already created, this is to be called as OOTB. Generally, we call it like predefined, right? Predefined. Predefined meaning already created. So all the predefined things are to be called as OOTB in PEGA. And that too, remember, in entire PEGA, everything is to be called as a rule. Everything is to be called as a rule. Now suppose I have to create some registration page, first name, last name, all these things. So I have to create somewhere, right? Maybe in framework or implementation. I have to create, no? So what is that to be called? Rule. So if I have to create first name, last name, mobile number, I have to create 3 rules, maybe in framework or implementation, depends. So everything is to be called as a rule. First name is a rule. If I wanted to include an image, earlier we have showed you, right? So welcome to HDFC Bank. If I wanted to show it like an image, you have to create a rule for that. If I wanted to play one video, you'll create and drag and drop, right? So that is a rule. If as a business analyst, if I have to create 15 applications, 5 framework and 10 implementations, total 15. All these 15 are also to be called as rules. Everything is to be called as a rule. If you join one company today, what I have to do? I have to create operator ID. Even that is a rule. Even that is a rule. So on the day 1, you are supposed to ask them, can you please create operator ID? What your manager will be doing? He will create a rule for that. Okay, he'll create a rule. Everything is to be called as a rule. Understanding, right? Everything is to be called as a rule. Now I have designed my complete project. Let me consider. After this, maybe I'm designing something related to credit card. Okay, I have designed this complete project, and next, who has to use this? Original bank employees. So the project what I'm doing now, maybe in Capgemini company, this has to be reaching to the bank servers. So bank employees, what they will do? They will log in. They'll come to office at 9 o'clock. They will log in. They will log in, meaning even they should get the same screen. So they have to ask for this URL. for their bank manager. Okay, so they will be asking for that URL and they will be logging in. So they will be logging in, meaning there should be operator ID also, right? So they should be operator ID for them. So if I am a bank employee, maybe bank clerk, on the day one, what I will be doing? So I have to ask my bank manager. So what is the how to log in? They will select this is the URL you have to hit, and this is your ID and password. Okay, so that is the ID and password. As a bank employee, I don't know that this should be called as operator. Correct, right? I'm just a normal bank employee, nothing more into technical. So I have to just understand how to log in. That's it. I don't know that this is developed on PEGA, because I'll not see PEGA logo also. I'll be seeing Citibank logo here. Okay, so I don't know that this is developed on PEGA and this used to be called as operator ID. I don't know all these things. Meaning this login page will be common for each and everyone. Understand, right? So login page will be common for each and everyone. As a developer, if I log in, what I have to get? I'll be getting some dev studio where I have to drag and drop and design. And if a bank employee is logging in with his operator ID, what he should get? Will he also get dev studio? What he can do with dev studio? He's not a developer, right? What he can do with dev studio? He has to get some output screen. So yeah, it has to be showing with one screen where click here for apply for credit card. Click here for generating home loan. Likewise, output screen is what he has to get. So point here is for each and every person operator ID will be there. It might be a developer or a tester or the real users. Real users. Fine. Let me log in again. So operator ID, can any will it be same for two people? Same untunda. If we both are developers, will we both have same client ID? Instead,
No, sir.
same ID enduku untundi?
No, sir.
First log, let me log in. How will you have same ID? Okay, fine. Now, if I log in with this operator ID, I'm getting dev studio. Correct, right? And if we all are developers, we'll be having operator ID separately. There will not be any common at all. So we'll be having separately. If you log in, you have to get dev studio only. Something related to developer, right? You are. So you'll be getting dev studio. Suppose if I am original bank employee, if I log in, I'll get some output screen. So maybe I'll get a screen showing like click here to register a new customer for credit card. It is just so click here to register for a credit card. Likewise, output screens is what I'll see. Correct, right? Now suppose if the real user clicking on that button, consider you are the real bank employee. If you click on that button, then you will be getting screen number 1 to collect customer basic details. Please enter first name, last name. Screen number 2, his educational details accordingly. So what is happening? On clicking on that button, some screen we are getting. And there I can see image, first name, last name, all these things. If I click on submit, next screen has to be loaded. It's related nominee 1 first name, nominee 2 first name, or witness name, guarantor name accordingly. Click on submit, screen number 3, where it will be showing maybe asking for educational details. So what is happening here? As a real user, if I click on that button, it is running all rules. It is loading screen number 1 and it's related first name, last name, all these things. What are everything to be called as? rules. Meaning if we click on that button, it is processing maybe 10 or 20 rules for screen number 1. Submit and go to screen 2. It is processing 20 more rules there. And next 30 more rules, maybe 44 more rules. So just to proceed further, it has to run all the rules. In PEGA, everything is to be called as a rule. So it is processing all the rules and getting some output. So it is processing all the rules. That is the reason this is to be called as PEGA rules process commander. Okay. It is processing all the rules and getting some output, right? So that is the reason this is to be called as PEGA rules process commander, in short PRPC. Most of the people got this doubt. What is PRPC? This is nothing more than that. So finally, what is this tool called? PRPC tool, not PEGA. So PRPC meaning PEGA rules process commander, where we are trying to process all the rules. If I wanted to send one email, one rule has to be processed. So if an user clicking on a button, then it has to load screen number 1, that should be a rule, and it has to load 2 images, those 2 are also the rules. It has to load first name, last name, all these things, all these are rules. So just to get some output, it has to process all the rules. It has to process all the 15 applications and its related first name, last name, other things. All these are to be called as rules. So that is the reason it is processing all the rules to get some output, right? So this is to be called as PEGA rules process commander, in short PRPC. So from now on, this tool is to be called as PRPC tool. You should never call it like PEGA tool. People with less knowledge, they'll call this like PEGA, which is not actually correct. So PEGA is just a name of an organization. Okay, it is just a name of an organization. Okay. So if I just go to Chroma store, I have to call it like a Chroma. I should not call it like Tata. Correct, right? So Tata is the organization which is investing on this. Similarly, PEGA is the organization which is investing on this tool. What is this tool name? What is this tool type? BPM, correct. So this is of BPM category. Why BPM? We already discussed. And this name is PRPC. So under PEGA, there are lot many tools. Lot many meaning it has got RPA, it has got BPM, other things. So the thing what we are discussing is completely PEGA PRPC BPM tool. So if you're trying to apply for some jobs in Naukri, you will see something like PEGA with 2 years. That is not actually correct. PEGA BPM meaning our thing. PEGA PRPC meaning our thing. PEGA CSA or CSSA also our concepts only. So this is to be called as PRPC tool from now on, where it is processing all the rules. Even application is a rule, and send email notification, this is a rule. It is processing all the rules. All the rules meaning including OOTB. Correct, right? What is OOTB? If there is anything predefined. Now on the day 1, if your development manager is giving you a mock-up to design first name, last name, all these things, what you will do? First name, last name, these looks reusable. You will be creating the right, you'll be creating it in framework or somewhere you'll create. So creating meaning it's a rule. So you are creating first name, last name rules. So should we call first name and last name as OOTB? I'm creating it, right? So how it will be predefined? So PEGA is, or this particular tool is to be called as PRPC, where it is processing all the rules including OOTB and user defined. So OOTB rules as well as user defined rules it is processing. So it is to be called as PRPC tool. So we'll come across this OOTB word in multiple places. Multiple places meaning, suppose as a developer, I'm implementing email functionality. So day one you joined the company, your manager is asking you to design screen number 1. In that screen number, you are designing first name, last name, all details. And if we submit, one email has to be triggered immediately. For the email ID, what we are entering, one email has to be triggered. Consider this as the requirement. So what you will do, first name, last name, some rules you have to create. Maybe it in the framework or implementation, you will create some rules. After that, if we click on login or submit button, what should happen? Email has to be triggered. For sending email, should you have to create anything from your end? Not required. You can straight away use this one, as already told you. Correct, right? You'll straight away use this. So email is working perfect and your task is done. Next, what you have to do? Next, what you will do? Maybe this has to be tested by the testers. Correct, right? So screen 1 you have completed, and next it is reaching to the testers. So testing team, they will test it perfectly. As per the document, they have to thoroughly test it. So there they will be checking whether the page is perfectly loaded or not, and if we submit, whether the details are perfectly stored, whether the email is triggered or not. They have to check everything, right? Now they might be, suppose email triggering, if it is happening after 20 minutes, once they click on submit button, they have to immediately get one email. That is what their expectation. In business analyst document, they will not mention any time. It has to be reaching in 10 minutes only or 20 minutes only. They will not mention anything. For specific reasons, meaning activation should happen only after 72 hours, only after 48 hours. For those kind of specific reasons, it is clearly mentioned. But in this kind of requirement, once I click on submit, so email has to be triggered. That is the requirement. I have developed it, so this is working perfect, and I have given it for the testers. Testing team, what they will do, they will try to run from their end, and they will see like email is getting triggered after 30 minutes. So they will be raising one defect for that. What kind of defect? Email is triggering, so they should not say like functionality is not working. Functionality is working fine, but they will be logging something called performance defect. Okay, performance defect, meaning performance is poor. It has to be triggered in very next second. Why it is taking half an hour or 1 hour? So this will be performance defect log. So this will be performance. If I'm trying to book one product in Amazon, immediately I'll get email, right? Suppose if I get it after 3 hours, I'll think like money got deducted without order placed. So there should be performance related things also involved. So testing team, they will be logging one defect saying like performance is not, it is taking 30 minutes or it is taking 20 minutes. And who has to fix that defect? Can testers do that? It will come to developers again. So developers has to fix it. As a developer, will you accept the defect? Yes, sir. You have to accept. Okay, so then who can fix it? Only you can, right? So you have to accept the defect. Accepting defect meaning, is that because of your mistake? So that is actually defect only, performance related. Is that because of your defect? Sorry, your design? I did not write any coding for Java. How come directly it will be my mistake? It is not completely my mistake, right? So here we will be defending, saying like this is completely OOTB behavior. So in the real time OOTB terminology, this is just an example. So this is completely OOTB behavior. How can we take the blame? Okay, So why can't we have this assigned for PEGA systems team? One person will be there, right? So why can't we assign this for him? So these kind of things. So this is not what I have designed. This is completely OOTB, and in that case, will not accept this defect completely. This is one example. And suppose maybe in the screen number 1, you are including first name, last name, all these details, and you wanted to, or your client is asking to include an image, and that image should be like a more styling part, maybe rotating. So these kind of graphical images. So graphical images and other stuff are not included because this is not public websites, right? So not that much of styling required. So this will be worked by only internal bank employees, no? What for that level of styling for this PRPC applications. But if my client is very strongly asking that I want this requirement only, then business analyst, they will be trying to include in the document as this. They will be coming to the developers. As a developer, what you have to say? This is not included. This is not OOTB is what the thing you have to use. So there is no OOTB for this. So we cannot include. So now business analyst will try to convey the same for business analyst. So this is not OOTB. Business analyst, they'll again try going to the customer or client. They'll try to convince them, saying like this is not OOTB. If this has to be included, we have to write extra coding, manual coding, which is not recommended. This is what BA will try to convince them. But still, if client is not convinced, we have to fix it, no option. If still client is not accepting this, he wanted that to be implemented, which is not OOTB. Try to understand technically, which is not OOTB. Then it is not our decision to write our own code. Consider we are working in Capgemini for city client. Client is asking something out of OOTB. We should not write any coding. To achieve this, we have to get with coding only. But it is not our own decision to write coding. Okay. Then PEGA systems person comes into picture. He will try to convince the customer. Even if he is not accepting, we are supposed to, as a developers, we are supposed to raise one service request, one ticket kind of. One ticket kind of if you raise, then PEGA systems person, he will try to get coding from his end. Meaning PEGA systems team, they only should write the coding. Okay. They only should write the code. So they will be implementing everything from their end, and they again will be handovering that to developers. We have to implement it. Ultimately, it is our responsibility to get the output. In this period, if you are facing any such challenges, out of OOTB challenges, we have to write coding, but it is not in our hands. We have to get that person's help, PEGA systems support person. We have to raise one service ticket for that, and he will be trying to write coding with their team, and that has to be implemented here. So this is what should be done. So you should not, or you are not allowed to write any coding on top of existing things. So you have to make use of existing things, and if you could not, then PEGA systems team, they only should write coding. So this is the actual process. You have to understand process first. Fine. So coming down the line, you'll come across OOTB terminology in multiple places. These two are the normal examples. So OOTB meaning which is already created, already predefined. Now, my purpose of I logging here is what? I logged in here. What is the purpose? To create applications. Day one, I am BA. I logged in here to create some applications. By this time, I'm seeing something application with the name called PEGA platform. What is this? Is this I have created? What is this to be called? OOTB application rule. Everything is a rule. This is to be called as OOTB application rule. And what is this to be called? This is not an application. This is general Java coding related, right? So this is OOTB, very clear. This is a rule, that's also very clear. And this rule type is activity. I'll talk about this later. So this is to be called as OOTB activity rule. And this is to be called as, this is to be called as OOTB application rule. Everything is to be called as a rule. Comfortable? So everything is to be called as a rule. Fine. Now, maybe if you are logging into old versions, so this is the latest one, 8.7. So if we join one company today, it is not like you have to use 8.7 only, no. My project might have started 5 years back. By that time, latest might be 8.1 or 2. So I'll be using that only, right? So if you log in any of the Infinity applications, what is Infinity? 8.x.
8.x.
8.x. So any of the Infinity version, if you log in, you will be seeing Dev Studio. We already know that. And here the application name will be same, PEGA platform. Suppose if you log into non-Infinity versions, non-Infinity meaning 6 or 5 or 7 or anything, there you will be seeing like Designer Studio, and here you will see something like PEGA rules. Application will be there. So here instead of PEGA platform, there we'll see like PEGA rules. Rules, we know, we came across this word. PEGA rules we see. From Infinity version, I told you that there are n number of extra features added, lot many. So that is the reason after 7.4 they launched Direct 8. They can release this like 7.5 also, no? They can release this like 7.5, but they are launching this like an 8. By just seeing the version number, we can clearly understand type of changes. Suppose after Windows 10, Windows 10.1, 10.2, 3, 4, lot many things came. We don't know that. If I restart my laptop, updates will be happening and one versions will be included. We don't know that. After that, they have officially launched Windows 11, right? So by just listening to this word Windows 11, what we will think? There are lot many features compared to 10. No? There are lot many features. So they can just launch that as Windows 10.1 also. But by just seeing the version number, we have to think what are the changes types, what kind of changes. So that is the reason from 7.4 they are including lot many extra features. They have released it like 8. Fine. So point here is, if you log into any of the Infinity versions, you will be getting something like PEGA platform as the OOTB showing up. And if we log into earlier versions, 7.4 or earlier, there PEGA rules is what you'll see. Fine. So this is the point you have to understand. Now, so this is all okay. Now, my purpose of logging here is to create new application. I have to create 4 frameworks and 10 implementations. Let me consider. So total 14 or 15 is what I have to create. I have to create one after another as a BA. So I'll be clicking on this arrow and here I'll see something like new application. So this I'll create. If I just select this, I'll get a screen where I have to give few details. If I click on next for 2 or 3 times, one application will be created. Very easy. But in the background, what it has to do? It has to create a rule. Everything is a rule, no? So it has to create one rule for this application. After that, if I create one more rule. So likewise, 15 applications meaning 15 rules. So PRPC is trying to process all the rules. Now, if I click on this one, if I give the name, application name, maybe BOA credit card. If I click on submit, what should happen? One application, its rule has to be created. And before that, we have to select the type also. Application has got types, right? What are those? Framework and implementation, nothing more than that. So in this process, we have to select the type, whether this is framework type or implementation. If my project is very, very small, I might not use framework also, which is not encouraged actually, but it is possible, no? So the application what I create, it should be like a rule, and based on the type what I select, accordingly that rule will be created. Now, before creating this application, there is something like definition. What is generally definition? It's information generally. Now, if I click on this, its information is what I'm seeing. So I'm trying to check for the definition of this rule. This is also a rule. So I'm trying to check for the definition of this rule. So I can understand that there is something called ID and there is something called a name. So this is the information related to this particular rule, no? And I can see header showing up with its ID and it's with name. So it is clear like for each and every rule to be processed, I have to process something, right? For each and every rule to be processed, there should be possible with ID only. So every rule to be processed, there will be ID. Suppose if you join one company today, first day your laptop request has to be raised, right? Day one. Suppose if I'm your manager, so I'll be going to laptop request related screens here. There, I'll select one person name from the drop down. So I'll see, if I click on drop down, I'll see all the employees tagged for me, and I'll select that person's name. And immediately, if I click on submit button, you'll get one email. Laptop request has been raised by your manager. Please come here and collect so and so details you'll get. What is happening? If I select your name, background processing will be happening because of your employee ID. Correct, right? So generally, processing all the time happens with the IDs only. So you'll be getting pay slips every month end. So that also happens based on IDs. Everywhere ID only, even here also. So each and every rule to be processed, that is possible with its ID processing. Meaning every rule should have one ID, right? Every rule. If you are joining one company, then one operator ID rule has to be created. What will be the ID for that? Your client ID, that's what, nothing more than that. So for every rule, there should be ID. If I create 15 applications now, 15 rules, 15 different IDs. If I create first name and last name, so rules are to be created. Okay, rules meaning with its own IDs. ID cannot be same. You're asking, right? ID will not be same at all. So will we both have same employee ID? Similarly here also. So all the time IDs will be unique. Now I can see once I check for the definition of this, its ID is, what is its ID showing? Did we already use this word in time? Where did we use this? If I log in into non-infinity versions, what will be the application name here? PEGA rules. So this is the application where its ID got with the name like PEGA rules, and this is what its display name. I'll call you with your name, but in the background processing will happen with your IDs. Same here also. Every rule will be having an ID and a display name. That is very important. If I create 15 applications, 15 rules, 15 unique IDs and its display names. So I can understand that there is something like PEGA rules which is already there, And what is its display name? PEGA platform. So can I change the display name? So if you join company, your ID will be there, your name will be stored. Suppose if you are a female, you got married and you wanted to update your name, surname or something. Is that possible or not? Possible.
Yes, sir.
So if you ask them, I wanted to update my employee ID, is that possible? What is happening? So display names can be updated, but IDs can never. So if I click on this, I can update. So display names can be updated. This is what happened from 7th version to 8th version. In the 7th version, rules will be the ID, can never be changed. And here, what are we seeing? PEGA platform meaning just a display name. So if I open 7th version, here also it will be showing it like PEGA rules only. So they have just edited this with PEGA platform, nothing more than that. So they are considering that there are n number of features added from 7 to 8. That is the reason they changed this display name, but they can never update ID. Even in the latest versions, I am seeing PEGA rules only. Maybe if PEGA is launching, PRPC is launching 10th version, after that 11th, after that 12th, even then they might be updating this like PEGA super platform or something, but ID can never be changed. Why ID can never be changed? Suppose maybe this is 2010. By this time, maybe 6th version is the latest one. Now today I have created one application. And before that, I have to talk one more thing. So if I log in, what is happening? I can able to see something like application with the name PEGA platform. So just ignore that discussion. So if I log in, I'm seeing something like PEGA platform. What is the purpose of I actually logging here? To create new application. Create new application meaning this is the navigation. So I'll just click on this. I'll give some name and it's a type submit. What should happen in the background? One application rule. One application has to be created, meaning it's the rule, and one ID and display name will be generated. We know that. Now, one application got created, maybe BOA or city credit card. And once this design is completely done, it has to be handed over to real production users, real bank employees. So real bank employees, what they will do? They will just click on a button kind of, and maybe they will register customers. Maybe per day 100 customers. So these customer details are to be stored somewhere, right? Maybe today I go for a bank, ask for a credit card. They have collected all the details and they're asking me to come after 2 days for activation. If I go after 2 days, they have to retrieve those details, right? So registering a customer is not just the criteria. They have to store it and they have to retrieve it. Meaning the application what I'm creating, city credit card, what I'm creating, this should be having a database table also. After this, there is something like city loans. Today city credit card is what we are creating. Next one, city loans. So if the real bank employee is registering 100 customers for loans and some other employee 100 customers for credit cards, so all these details are to be maintained, where all the credit card requests are to be maintained in one table, credit card related data, and loans related into its separate table. What we're understanding, every application should be holding some data. No? Credit card application should hold some data, loans application some data, savings account its data. So every application should be having one database table. Now if I just select this new application, it's matter of 2 minutes for us. Its name and its a type. In the background, what will happen? One application rule with its ID, and that application without table, what it can do? There should be database table also. So there should be database table also to be created automatically. In fraction of 30 seconds, all this will be done. And apart from this, hundreds of extra actions also will be done. I'll talk about this slowly. So for now, application rule has to be created, one database table has to be created, and lot many things, extra configurations, lot many things are to be created. So if I just click on submit button, all these things are automatically being done here. So that is possible only with something called this PEGA platform. So PEGA platform, what is it doing? It is trying to give its rules to its child applications. If I create one credit card application now, so credit card application has to be created with multiple things, right? So just to get this all the things created successfully, it is taking help from PEGA platform. Understanding, right, everyone? So PEGA platform, what is it doing? It is trying to give its rules to its child applications to get all these things created successfully. After that, maybe if I'm creating one more application for city loans, even this particular application should be having a table and it should be having operator ID. So it should be having lot many rules and extra things, right? For any new application to be created, some multiple actions are to be done, and for all these things, it has to get help from PEGA platform. So vice versa statement is like PEGA platform is supplying all its components to its child applications just to get those created successfully, nothing more than that. So PEGA platform is supplying its components, meaning rules, nothing more than that. Everything is a rule. So what is PEGA platform? So this is helping all its child applications. It might be 15 or 20 or 25. So it has to be helping all its child applications to be created and running successfully. So PEGA platform is supplying its rules. So keep this point aside. And what is our yesterday's discussion? If my project is complicated, I'll create one framework and maybe two other frameworks and maybe implementations. This is our earlier discussion, right? So this application is trying to get the help from this one, and this can get help from this one. So what is framework doing? Framework is supplying its rules to its child applications. Very clear. So framework has to be created with all the reusable rules, and it has to be helping its child applications to running success. And what is this definition? PEGA platform is also supplying its rules to its child applications. So if we just correlate, will PEGA platform or is PEGA platform acting like a framework? It's a framework, right? So PEGA platform is supplying all its rules to its child applications, and this framework also is doing the same process. So hence PEGA platform is to be called as OOTB framework. I did not create it. So OOTB framework. So these are user defined frameworks. So PEGA platform is one OOTB framework where it should be helping all its related child applications. Okay, all its child applications. Fine. So let me consider I am in 2010. By this time, maybe 6th version is the latest one. So we have taken license from PEGA for purchasing the 6th one, and I am trying to develop one application. So there also master credential will be same, administrator. If I log in, I'll be getting same kind of screen, maybe designer studio here, and here PEGA rules. So I'll try to create one new application on that by that time, maybe 2010, let me consider. So if I click on this one application, maybe city loans is what I'm creating. So this city loans is getting help from what? PEGA rules only by that time. So this is getting help from PEGA rules. So above application is getting help from, sorry, below is getting help from above its parents. So all the time process happens based on IDs. So in the 6th version or in the current 7th or 6th, whatever, so PEGA rules will be there. Its ID with PEGA rules. Display name and ID both will be same. So my application is getting help from PEGA rules. Processing happens based on IDs only, right? It is getting help from PEGA rules. Now maybe from 2010 down the line, I upgraded to 7th version in 2015. Let us consider. And I have used that application for 5 years. And today I am upgrading from 7th to 8.7. So my project started in 2010. Maybe I'm in 2022. So whatever the work I started by that time, I have to continue that, right? I have to continue that. Meaning my city loans application by that time got help from what? PEGA rules. If now PEGA team is changing this ID to something like PEGA platform, will my project be working? I'm asking like this ID. So today is 2010. Let me consider. I have created one city loans as the application. So that application once created, it has to get help from what? PEGA rules. By the time PEGA rules application, its display name is PEGA rules and ID also PEGA rules. Now 2022, I wanted to make use of the latest PEGA features. I upgraded to 8.7 version. Okay. Now my project, what I started in 2010, I have to still continue with latest features, right? So I upgraded to 7th version. In the 7th version, if suppose PEGA rules is not there, ID, they are renaming ID also with the name like PEGA platform. Will my project work? My project all the time getting help from PEGA rules only. It will search for where is PEGA rules. If there is nothing like available, my projects will not work. So that is the reason this ID will never be changed. If it is changed, it will be working only for the new projects from now on. For the old projects, it will not work. If that is the case, no one will upgrade. I'll still sit with 7th version. I'll sit with 6th version only. I will not upgrade. In that case, my cost will be saved. Correct, right? If I'm trying to upgrade, again I have to pay the renewal and I have to hire extra developers just for upgrading. Lot of extra rework. But PEGA these days strongly pressurizing us to upgrade to the latest versions. If that is the case, if it is not supporting old projects, no one will come, right? So point here is, once a rule got created, its ID can never be changed. Its display name can be changed. Why I'm saying this much is like, after this we'll create multiple applications or multiple rules. So their ID and display name may or may not be equal. So in this case, ID and display name both are same, no? Correct, right? Both are same. In this case, both are not same. So in the future rules, whatever we create, it may be equal or may not be equal. These two may or may not be equal, because ID has got some restrictions. It should not be more than this length. It should not have special symbols. It should not have spaces in between. Here I can see space, but here I cannot see, right? In the old versions, PEGA space rules will be there. PEGA space rules. So ID will be decided based on the rule name. Okay, based on the rule name. If I'm defining something like Citibank dash FW framework something, then based on that name, ID has to be modified. Hyphens are to be removed, spaces are to be removed. So ID and display name both will be different. So processing should happen all the time with names, so IDs only. Suppose if this got changed with something different. Now, if you wanted to make use of functionality, what you will do? You have to call this ID, not the name. Okay, fine. So in this class, we are clearly understanding what is OOTB, what is PRPC. Okay, where to come across this OOTB terminology with few examples, and what is PEGA platform, why it is called as OOTB framework, what is PEGA rules. Okay, and few things about this rule definition. So all these things we are clearly understand. In the next class, we'll understand how to create these applications. So creating applications